Let's talk about some of the potential replacements. It's not a subject I'm entirely comfortable with because they've still got a manager, but I do appreciate that Arsenal have got to do their own due diligence. They've got to have their own ideas, Crossy, on who might be the man to replace Arsene Wenger when he eventually goes. So who's in the frame?
Well, I think you've got to look at someone like Tuchel at Dortmund, Max Allegri at Juventus, who I think is interested in the job. I've seen his sort of protestations that he wants to stay, but I do. I think there'd be a lot of managers going for that job. I mean, Simeone, I think, would be interested. Whether he would fit the profile is another thing. I don't think he would. Just because I think they would want someone who's quite even-handed, wants to play good football, and Wenger has delivered very, very good football for 20 years, marvellous football. And I think they want to follow in that good passing style, attacking, and it's really good to see. I think Roger Schmidt is perhaps the outsider from Leverkusen, who, you know, is in action this week in the Champions League. Personally, I think you need someone with the gravitas. I thought Jamie Carragher did a brilliant column in the Mail yesterday about sort of saying that Arsenal were successful before, they'll be successful again. When Wenger arrived, he wasn't a particularly renowned name. And I do feel that we've moved on so much in the 20 years following that we know these guys, whereas Wenger, I think we'd know Wenger when he arrived at Arsenal if it were 20 years on, if you see what I mean. Yep. But I just feel that they need someone of a stature and a standing that will be able to say to Mesut Ozil, I'm going to take this club forward, I want you to stay. Look, I think...
I thought you were going to say he was going to substitute.
Well, I know, well, he should have done. I mean, it's remarkable. I mean, that again, question marks Wenger's management, how he can leave him on the pitch. He was shockingly bad on Wednesday night. How anyone can see that he should stay on the pitch is wrong.
Nick and Living?
Well, he was Wednesday night.
Jace, Cross just mentioned some of the names in the frame, some of the contenders. Who do you think is the man to succeed him?
That's a big question, obviously. I mean, I think John's right. There'll be a lot of people out there who want the job. It's because it's the one sort of underexploited Premier League job. I mean, everything is in place. You know, you've got the stadium, you've got the training ground, you've got the budget, you've got the cachet, you've got the fan base. There's so much to go at with Arsenal. And actually, following on from Wenger, I don't think it's going to be as hard as it was following on from Ferguson. I agree with Steve. I think it's a different dynamic. I think that there actually are people at Arsenal who are desperate to sort of have more freedom, more authority, more chance to do things themselves as well. And I think that's also quite interesting. But one interesting name, I was thinking about this as well, one interesting name, obviously they've just beaten Arsenal, is Ancelotti, because Ancelotti isn't having the greatest time at Bayern Munich. And I know for a fact he really does like Arsenal as a club. And when he left Chelsea, he was turning up at Arsenal quite a lot just to sort of see things. He'd be quite an interesting character. But I actually think they might have to look at restructuring themselves a little bit and maybe not going for a like-for-like replacement, and maybe the idea of a younger coach with somebody working alongside him, director of football type or whatever. I think that might work at Arsenal. I think it might be a change there, that they could do that instead. But there'll be so many good candidates. I mean, Simeone, Allegri's a big, interesting candidate, Sampaoli at Seville. There's lots of different candidates out there that they could get. And this is the process they should be doing right now. And that's why I think, personally, it would help everyone if it was resolved right now, if Wenger did come out right now and say, look, OK, I am going at the end of the season. People might say it's a knee-jerk reaction to the Munich result. Well, it's not really, is it? I mean, you know, it's not one result. And I think it would help the situation. Then the club could move forward and do more of a transition.
I think they missed the boat. I think they missed the boat, Arsenal. I mean, for me, you know, the manager who fitted their DNA absolutely perfectly, and him theirs, was Guardiola. I think he would have been a fantastic manager for Arsenal because the way Arsenal play, their philosophy, their whole kind of ethos about football is already Guardiola's, apart from the winning. And I think he would have been a fantastic manager. And the fact that they have let this drift, and you're now talking about a possibility who, it could be anybody, take your pick. The fact that Arsenal haven't had some kind of line of succession kind of already in place really smacks of bad management for me. They've had a long time to think about this. OK, United got it wrong, but there's no reason why Arsenal didn't have to do that. And if you're talking about an outside name, I think the boy at Hull, Marco Silva, who's doing a fantastic job there. If you're going to go for somebody with perhaps potential, with somebody alongside him, I think for me he'd be a good fit.
No matter what happens next season, I will manage somewhere. Charlie Nicholas, will that still be at Arsenal?
I don't think so. No, we've debated Arsene, and Arsene in particular, a long time in this show. And I think when it's your own club, your passion runs very strongly. and it's hard. It's harsh and it's hard. But you've got to go. You know, you can't camouflage it. And I just feel now that he looks in pain. He looks as if he's panicking about his team choices. The start of a game about 3 weekends ago, Julian, we had a shot where the backroom staff put a shot together 30 seconds into an Emirates game, and he's pacing up and down, rubbing his hands. And that's not good. I don't want to see this genius of a man being ripped apart like this. I'm not enjoying listening to it. I'm not enjoying the chat that I have to put down my balance. Last season was the first time I kind of turned a little bit to say I think it was time for change. I don't have a problem staying on. He has earned the right to make his decision. But somewhere along the line, someone has got to say, who is improving? Is the team improving? Are you getting it right? The last 3 years, I would say more so I can understand the anger, because he's had serious money. Before then, he didn't. He had to camouflage it. But the last 3 years, and Arsenal are not competing in the Champions League. They're getting there and they're not competing. Happy to be there. That's the case now. So it's not a competition that you get excited about. In the Premier League, we finished second last season, but didn't ever look like ever going to threaten to go for it. And it's been like that for too long. And I feel that he's getting far too much criticism, and a lot of the players are getting away with it. And I think it's unfair. I can understand it, and I can understand the pain and anger that Arsenal fans and I am having just now talking about it. But at the same time, I think for his sake, I want him to walk away or leave the club, humility, dignity and the glory that belongs in his office.
Paul Merson, as another former Arsenal man, are you finding this equally as painful at the moment as Charlie?
Yeah, because it's not nice, but it's happening it's happening more often than what it did. You know, before it was sort of every now and then, but it's a lot more often now. And then when it is a lot more often, it's not good. You know, I thought Wednesday night was the first time I've seen him lost. I thought he was lost. You know, after the game, when he went into the press conference, it was, oh no, you know. And I felt sorry for him. I felt sorry for him. And people go, oh, what do you feel sorry for? He's on 6 million. No, it don't matter. He's done enough for Arsenal over the years. But times change. Times change, and that's the way it is. And, you know, sometimes the players have got to take a lot of blame as well. I don't see any players coming out. I just asked Tomo and Chaz. I don't read a lot of the newspapers, so I thought I better ask first. I don't see any players coming out going, leave the manager. It's us. It's our fault. They're all putting their heads down, and they're all sitting there thinking, oh, thank God it's the manager getting this stick. You know, they're letting him down. They're letting him down at 3-1. It was a good result, 3-1. It's a two-legged game. We played in Europe. You score an early goal at the Emirates, game on. But it goes 3-1. You don't see anybody get together and go, right, that's it. Keep it tight now. Sit 10 behind the ball. It became like a basketball match at 4-1. It was like basketball. It just completely went. And, you know, then you spring it back round to him and you say, right, is that his tactics? You know, would Mourinho's team talk been exactly the same as Arsene Wenger's? And it wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have been. You know, and that's what worries me now. I think, you know, he's put it into Arsenal's court by saying, I'll be managing anyway. And he will. He's probably... There's no way his agent, if he's got an agent, wouldn't have been told that he's got a job somewhere. Because you wouldn't turn round and say what he just said. You couldn't, because that could embarrass you quite a lot if you turn around and go, well, I'll definitely be managing next season. You know, he's been told that he's got a job next season. And I bet you a bottom dollar it'll be a big job. It'll be a big job.
He's not like Sir Alex Ferguson. Sir Alex Ferguson has a social life. You know, he'll go horse racing, he plays golf, he's got a big... You know, he gets around, he has a social life. This man, that is his life. That is his life, his Arsenal Football Club. They're his life. And he's put all his life into this, and he won't know anything else to do. You know, if he retired tomorrow, he won't be at Doncaster races next week, or York races. I mean, he's football, man. He's football, and he's probably said that and said to Arsenal, well, I'm going to be managing next season, so it's up to you now. You know, it's up to you. But for the first time, you know, I know it's been same old over the last 3 or 4 years. That was the first time I've seen him lost the other night.
Really?
Lost in...
really hurt him. You say he's a real football man. Arsenal is his life. 5-1. Especially in that second half against Bayern Munich. How much will that hurt him, the fact that you say he's looking lost?
Yeah, of course it will. Of course it will hurt him, and he did. He just, even in the press conference, he sort of went in there on the thought of, I'm in trouble here.